Hello and a very warm welcome to Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. First up, let's take a look at the top stories. Fresh reports on shelling on the India-Pak line of control last night. Pakistan's repeated ceasefire violations not conducive to peace, says India. Massive anti-Pakistan protests in Jammu. Shiv Sena questions Narendra Modi's tribute to Bala Sahab Thackeray, blames BJP for ending 25-year-old Saffron Alliance. Islamic State militants enter key town on Syrian-Turkey border. Street firing rages between Islamic State and Syrian Kurd defenders. Spanish nurse tests positive for Ebola, becomes the first case of the virus outside Africa. US says it's working on new anti-Ebola airport screenings. And ace swimmer Michael Phelps suspended from all competitions for 6 months after he was arrested for drunken driving. He'll miss the crucial World Championships in Russia. Our top story, there are reports of intermittent firing last night by Pakistan across the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. India has lashed out at Pakistan over the spate of ceasefire violations in the last week, as the BSF called it a deliberate effort by Pakistan to target civilians living near the LOC and the border. The government warned Pakistan that times have changed. Take a look at this report.
Ceasefire violations by Pakistan for the 6th day in a row. At least 5 people were reported killed and 25 injured in the shelling. Amid calls for strong action, Defence Minister Arun Jaitley blamed Pakistan for failing to create a peaceful environment ever since New Delhi called off talks last month.
Pakistan must realize that the kind of environment it is generating between the two countries is certainly not going to help in normalizing the relationships. The onus for creating a positive environment is on Pakistan, which it is utterly failing to do so.
पाकिस्तान को अब सीज फायर वायलेशन बंद करना चाहिए और इस हकीकत को समझना चाहिए कि भारत में अब जमाना बदल चुका है.
In the latest incident early on Monday morning, Pakistani Rangers fired mortar bombs on Arnia village about 3 kilometers from the border. The vicious attack came on the eve of Eid. It was condemned by the Chief Minister, who visited the victims in the hospital.
ऐसे मौके पे जबकि पार वालों की तरफ से हमें ईद के तोहफे मिलने चाहिए थे, इन्होंने वाकई एक अलग अंदाज में ये ईद मनाने का फैसला किया. सीज़फायर तोड़ने का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है.
Experts feel Pakistan has a method behind the non-stop ceasefire violations.
Pakistani actions across line of control are showing the sense of desperation because of the floods. The window that usually Pakistan exploits to infiltrate terrorists across the line of control could not be utilized fully.
Kashmir has seen almost uninterrupted ceasefire violations since 15th August. The fresh violations came after more than a month. The opposition says it's high time the government took some concrete steps to deal with the situation.
बातचीत का सिलसिला जो है ये बरकरार रहे, जल्द से जल्द फिर शुरुआत हो, ताकि इस तरीके की घटनाएं और बेगुनाह जाने की जो सिलसिला है वो बंद हो.
This government has to stop talking about nationalism and jingoism and has to take concrete steps to completely stop this at the preventive level and to give a fitting reply to prevent recurrence.
जल्द से जल्द जो भी पाकिस्तान के जिम्मेदार लोग हैं, चाहे वो आर्मी के हों, सिविलियन के हों, उनसे बातचीत करनी चाहिए और बातचीत करके इस मसले का हल ढूंढना चाहिए.
When Prime Minister Narendra Modi took over in May, his initiative in inviting Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to his inauguration was widely seen to be a promising step in improving relations. But ever since the government called off talks with Pakistan last month, things have gone downhill for relations between the two countries. The continuous ceasefire violations have only aggravated the situation. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And residents of Jammu staged massive anti-Pakistan protests on Monday. Locals demonstrated against unprovoked firing by Pakistan in the Arnia forward belt of the Araspura along the international border, in which 5 villagers lost their lives while 34 others were injured. Angry protesters burned Pakistan's flag, demanding effective retaliatory action. Shiv Sena also held anti-Pak protest demonstration against the ceasefire violation. The BSF has said the firing by Pakistan was deliberately aimed at civilians living in the border areas.
अगर हिम्मत है तो शरेआम मैदान में और लड़के दिखा। पहले भी कई दफा आपको मुंह के बल खाना पड़ी है, अब दोबारा आपको कुछ चाहिए तो आप सीधे मैदान में आओ, वहां लड़के दिखाओ अगर आप में हिम्मत है तो। यही हम पाकिस्तान को मैसेज देना चाहते हैं।
पाकिस्तान आकर जो गोलीबारी बिना वजह गोलीबारी करता है उसको बंद करे और बॉर्डर पे चाहे इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर है जहाँ लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल है उस पर शांति बनाए रखे ताकि दोनों तरफ के जो लोग हैं अमन के साथ इस बॉर्डर पे रह सकें।
And to discuss why there's a spate in ceasefire violations by Pakistan and what is the way forward, we have with us this morning in our studio Smruti Patnaik, Research Fellow at the IDSA. A very good morning and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. Smruti, worrying development at the LOC. There's intermittent firing by Pakistan along the LOC at the international border, and Pakistan obviously claims that there's a blame game between India and Pakistan. India claims civilians dead on this side. Pakistan claims. Till when is this blame game going to continue?
I think first one should take into account, two things, because one, which is very, very important, is for the past 1 year, there has been this continuous violation of ceasefire. You see the spate of violation increasing in some point of time and then again decreasing. But it has been very, very continuous after Nawaz Sharif government has come to power. So taking that into context, I see two things. Number one is that Sharif's relationship with the Pakistan army, the tussle which is going on between the civilian government and the army. And second issue is the domestic turmoil which Pakistan is facing. So there has always been attempt to divert the attention to the Pakistan's eastern frontier with India. So you have in the western frontier of Pakistan the Zarb-e-Azab, which is right now continuing. So the moment you divert the attention to the eastern frontier, people really do not ask actually what actually is happening in Zarb-e-Azab, what is happening to the people who are being displaced there, are any militants being captured by Pakistan, in all these operations. So you tend to focus on attention on Indian side, and therefore, the entire attention is not on the, how the Pakistan army is performing on the western border.
Right. There are analysts also who are saying that this is an attempt by the Pakistan army so that it can push infiltrators inside Jammu and Kashmir because this is the best time. The winters are setting in. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I completely agree because this is the best time. If you don't push in the infiltrator, once the mountain passes will get blocked because of the snow, it becomes very difficult to push in the infiltrator. I think the intention here is to keep the attention on Kashmir, continuous attention on Kashmir and what is happening inside, by actually fueling a kind of terrorism and violence which actually makes Kashmir somewhere at the hotspot. Because if you look at the global politics, there are many hotspots in other areas like West Asia or what is happening in Iraq, Afghanistan. So Kashmir somehow I feel is losing the kind of focus which Pakistan wants to give. The thing is that so unless until you have infiltration continuing and the lead of violence is somewhere keeps on boiling, I think that is where probably the attention will be given, and also to signal the army and to the people of Pakistan that we have not, especially by the civilian government, they have not forgotten Kashmir. I think in this context you need to look at Sharif's suddenly raising the issue of Kashmir in UN, which Pakistan was not doing for quite some time. So I think this has to be related to Sharif's own relationship with the army. So I think a connection between the civilian government and its relationship with the army and what is happening in the border and,
So in the wake of reasons that you cited, Pakistan is not going to stop. Multiple ceasefire violations by Pakistan are going to continue. In that situation, how should India respond?
I think two things which I feel is very important. One is that, of course, when this kind of firing is happening and the civilian population on the Indian side, are getting affected, I think a retaliatory measure is definitely in short term need to retaliate,
Yeah,
especially.
we heard Arun Jaitley is saying
Yes.
we are going to retaliate effectively. But what does that mean?
So retaliation also means foiling, the attempt of infiltration. It's not just, retaliating just to their firing of mortars and shells, but it also means foiling the bid of infiltration bid. Because yesterday there was this report that the infiltration bid in LOC has been foiled by the Indian Army. So that is number one. Number two, in long term, I think this, continuous violation of ceasefire probably means that Pakistan doesn't want to stick to the 2003 ceasefire, which was announced by then Musharraf government. Right. Because the formula which General Musharraf had propounded at that particular point of time, within the army, right now there are not many takers, because they feel that, right now it's a movement, Pakistan army cannot give up the issue of Kashmir, it wants to keep it in the attention. That could be one of the reasons, just complete disconnection with what was done in the past and probably chart a new path, through ceasefire violation, pressurizing India to have a dialogue. I think this is probably, if one looks at India's response, since you asked about what should be India's response, one, I said about short term, I think in long term, probably right now, I don't think the atmosphere for having a dialogue with Pakistan is there, so at least at present.
Restarting dialogue at this process is not an option?
No, it is not an option, because, the atmosphere in which a dialogue can take place needs to be very, very different. Not in this kind of under pressure that you are firing, so therefore you are pushing us to the dialogue table. It doesn't result in anything. So what's the point of having a dialogue when you don't have a conducive atmosphere, where, such kind of dialogue can take place, because it is a very, very complex relationship.
But in such a situation, the civilians are paying with their lives on both sides.
Yeah, so that is where I say, at least somewhere the DGMO can speak to each other. If Pakistan really feels that, this is something which cannot just continue. So there is a need for the DGMO, because there is hotline between the two countries. Probably those needs to be reactivated to control, the ceasefire violation or what is happening in the border into spiraling into a, larger India-Pakistan tension. Right, so therefore, I think we need to address it and keep it localized, and need to address the issue of why this is happening, what are the reasons, and what actually is the, actually the end objective of the Pakistani state in, having this kind of violation.
That's the big test for Narendra Modi government right now. Thank you so much, Smriti, for joining us this morning and giving us that perspective. Now let's get you all the election news from Maharashtra and Haryana in our special segment, Verdict 2014. Now, as campaign season heats up in Maharashtra and Haryana, the Shiv Sena attacked its estranged ally BJP yesterday, blaming it for the end of the 25-year-old alliance. The party also questioned Prime Minister Narendra Modi's newfound respect for Bal Thackeray. Take a look at this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's refusal to say anything against the Shiv Sena at a rally on Sunday has triggered a war of words between the former alliance partners. In an editorial in the party mouthpiece Samna, the Shiv Sena has said, and I quote, Modi says that he will not attack the Sena in his speeches as he has respect for Bala Saheb Thackeray. We too respect the Prime Minister. But when you backstabbed us merely on the issue of seat sharing, where did that respect disappear then? Did you not think of Bala Saheb before breaking the alliance forged on the principles of Hindutva? The Samna editorial does not stop there. It equates the BJP with the Congress and the NCP, saying the state's electorate has now realized who the real and hidden thieves of the state are. The editorial says, and I quote, for what purpose did the CM of Gujarat, Anandiben Patel, visit Maharashtra if she asks all the industrialists to set base in Gujarat, leaving Maharashtra behind? This too amounts to looting Maharashtra. At a campaign rally in Tasgaon in Sangli on Sunday, Modi had said he would not utter a single word against the Shiv Sena out of respect for Bal Thackeray.
मैंने तय किया है कि बाला साहब की गैर मौजूदगी का ये पहला चुनाव है, महाराष्ट्र का पहला चुनाव है, और इसलिए मैं बाला साहब के प्रति अपनी श्रद्धा और आदर को व्यक्त करने के लिए शिवसेना के खिलाफ एक शब्द भी नहीं बोलूंगा.
The Prime Minister's remarks came just hours after Shiv Sena Youth Wing President Aditya Thackeray attacked the BJP, accusing it of backstabbing Bal Thackeray by snapping ties with his party over seat sharing in Maharashtra Assembly polls. But the BJP has refuted these allegations, saying the split had disheartened them.
No, we had always maintained that we wanted to continue our alliance with Shiv Sena, and with heavy heart we had to call off this alliance only because of the fact that there was time constraint. The nomination date was only one day away and the seat sharing deal had not been finalized. And that's the reason as to why Bharatiya Janata Party had maintained that we would not attack the legacy of Bala Sahab Thackeray, whom we respect a lot from our heart of heart.
With former allies bickering over who's responsible for the breakup now, the political scene in Maharashtra is surely heating up. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the Election Commission has slapped a notice on Union Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari. The minister is accused of making statements that in effect induce voters to take a bribe. Gadkari reportedly made these remarks while addressing a public meeting in Latur on the 5th of October. According to the Election Commission, he told the gathering, and I quote, "You have the opportunity of Lakshmi Darshan in the next 10 days. In these days of inflation, keep one thing in mind. Eat what you wish and drink what you desire. Keep whatever you get, but think while you vote. Your vote should be for the development of Maharashtra." Unquote. And let's move on to some other national stories now. AIADMK Supremo Jayalalitha's bail plea comes up in the Karnataka High Court today. Jaya has asked for the immediate bail and suspension of a 4-year sentence in the disproportionate assets case. Tight security and prohibitory orders are in place in 1 kilometer radius around the Karnataka High Court and around the Parapanna Agrahara Central Prison, where Jayalalitha is lodged since the 27th of September. Bangalore Police Commissioner said that over 2,000 police personnel led by Joint Commissioner will also be deployed in both spots as they are anticipating a large number of AIADMK cadres. In Tamil Nadu, fasts, protests and special prayers continue for Jayalalitha's early release.
நாங்கள் அம்மா வெளியில் வர்றதுக்காக நாங்கள் மெழுகுவர்த்தி ஏந்தி கூட்டு பிரார்த்தனை இங்கே நான் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோங்க.
அம்மா மீது போட்ட பொய் வழக்கை உடைச்சு நாளை கண்டிப்பாக அம்மா வருவாங்கன்னு நாங்கள் எதிர்பார்த்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். 1000க்கு மேற்பட்டோர் குழந்தைகளும் குடும்பமாகவும் ஆண்களும் பெண்களும் எல்லாரும் சேர்ந்து மெழுகுவர்த்தி ஏந்தி எங்க அம்மா நாளைக்கு வெளியே வரணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு நாங்கள் எல்லாரும் கூட்டு பிரார்த்தனை நடத்தி கொண்டிருக்கிறோம்.
The launch of IRNSS 1C has been deferred by a week. The launch was originally scheduled for the 10th of October on board the 28th flight of India's rocket PSLV C-26. The reason for the delay, as stated by ISRO, is an observation in the telemetry system. The 67-hour countdown for the launch was to have commenced at 7 a.m. this morning. IRNSS 1C is the third satellite in the series of 7 to put in place India's own navigation system on par with US's global positioning system. ISRO plans to send 7 satellites to put in place the Indian Regional Navigational Satellite System, or the IRNSS, which is similar to US's Global Positioning System, Russia's GLONASS and Europe's Galileo. And with that, we'll slip into a short break here. On the other side, Mexican president vows justice against killers of students whose mass grave was found on Sunday. That and much more to come on the other side. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Breakfast News. After nearly 3 weeks of intense fighting, Islamic State militants on Monday entered the key Syrian-Turkish border town of Kobani. The Islamic State has already raised their black flags on buildings and high ground. Reports say street-to-street fighting continues between Syrian Kurd defenders and Islamic State militants in Kobani. Over 160,000 Syrians, mainly Kurds, have fled the town into Turkey. Taking Kobani would give Islamic State control of a long stretch of the Syrian-Turkish border. Earlier, the US Central Command had confirmed that a fresh airstrike by the US-led forces had destroyed 2 Islamic State fighting positions in the south of Kobani. However, the Kobani defense officials said that the strikes in the area were ineffective. And Mexico's president has vowed to punish those responsible for disappearance of students after the weekend discovery of 6 adjoining pits containing 28 unidentified bodies. 43 students had vanished in September after violence blamed on crooked police tied to a drug gang. Here's more.
Burnt beyond recognition. This is what Mexican authorities accidentally discovered: over 24 charred skulls, limbs and bones. These bodies were found in the restive southern state of Guerrero when police were scouring the area for nearly 24 missing students after a case of violence. The remains were found on a hillside on the outskirts of the town of Iguala. The identities of the dead were not immediately clear.
El día de hoy se localizaron distintas fosas en las inmediaciones de la ciudad de Iguala, particularmente en el punto conocido como Pueblo Viejo y Loma del Coyote.
Hundreds of activists blocked the main highway in the state to protest what they say is forced disappearances. The protesters covered their faces and broke security cameras as they hid their identities from authorities. This protester feels some of the officials are complicit in the crime.
Queremos decirle que los jóvenes todavía siguen vivos, los 43, sí, porque esos cuerpos no son de ellos, sí, serán de otras personas que quieren aparentar y no sé qué pretende.
Several aggrieved parents like this one appealed to the US President Barack Obama to help Mexico rein in its infamous drug cartels.
Le pedimos al señor presidente Obama pues que nos ayude, porque aquí México definitivamente no hace nada y no puede pues con todo, ¿verdad? El presidente Peña Nieto, no hay justicia.
The students went missing on the night of September 26th after they clashed with local police in Iguala. The bodies recovered so far are so badly burnt that only bones and bits of flesh remain. The state government says it could take days, if not weeks, before their identities are established. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now news on the Ebola outbreak. A nurse at a hospital in Madrid, Spain has tested positive for Ebola, making her the first case of the outbreak outside Africa. Spain's health minister informed on Monday that the female nurse was part of the medical team that cared for a 69-year-old Spanish priest and is believed to have contracted the virus from him. Concerned with the spread of the deadly virus, US President Barack Obama said on Monday that his administration is working on additional protocols for screening airplane passengers to identify people who might have Ebola. He, however, added that the chance of an outbreak in the United States was extremely low. Travel restrictions have been ruled out.
I know that the American people are concerned about the possibility of an Ebola outbreak, and Ebola is a very serious disease. And the ability of people who are infected to carry that across borders is something that we have to take extremely seriously. At the same time, it is important for Americans to know the facts, and that is that because of the measures that we've put in place, as well as our world-class health system, and the nature of the Ebola virus itself, which is difficult to transmit, the chances of an Ebola outbreak in the United States is extremely low.
And a look now at some other news and updates from around the globe in our World Wrap. Representatives from Hong Kong's Occupy Central movement have agreed to hold formal talks with the government, though no date has been decided yet. The crowd has begun to die down as civil servants return to work on Monday. The students have said that the talks would be called off if the remaining demonstrators were cleared from the streets by force. More than 100 illegal migrants are missing after their vessel sank off Libya's coast en route across the Mediterranean. The vessel carrying about 250 immigrants went down over the weekend west of Tripoli. Around 70 migrants, mostly from Syria and sub-Saharan Africa, have been rescued and around 30 bodies have been recovered. This is the third such tragedy in the last month. The Australian authorities announced on Monday that the next phase of the search for the missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 has begun in the southern Indian Ocean. Go Phoenix, a Malaysian government-contracted ship, is the first of the 3 vessels that arrived in the search zone. The Phoenix will be joined later this month by 2 ships sent by Dutch contractor Fugro. 25 people are now confirmed killed and 40 others are injured in yesterday's bus accident in western Nepal. A crowded passenger bus had veered off a hilly road and plunged around 300 meters into a gorge. At least 25 people are still reported critical. The cause of the accident is still being ascertained. The iconic Eiffel Tower in Paris has unveiled a revamped first floor offering tourists a new glass floor experience. The vertigo-inducing glass floor gives visitors the impression that they are walking in the sky. The glass floor is part of a £24 million refit that also includes new solar panels and museum. The fourth national level exhibition and competition to promote scientific temper among students kicked off in the capital yesterday. Almost 900 students chosen from across the country are taking part in this year's event.
The Inspire program has brought young scientists from across the country on one platform. The fourth national level exhibition has been organized by the Science and Technology Ministry. The government hopes that such programs will make children more scientifically inclined.
एक पहला कदम है जिससे कि जो साइंस वो अपनी टेक्स्ट बुक में पढ़ते हैं और स्कूल में देखते हैं उसको उस क्रिएटिव तरीके से उसका प्रयोग कर सकें उन प्रश्नों का उत्तर पाने के लिए जो प्रश्न उनके मन में उजागर होते हैं तो ये एक तरह का एप्लीकेशन है उनके थॉट प्रोसेस का.
The exhibition gives students between the ages of 10 and 15 years an opportunity to showcase their scientific ability. They also stand a chance to win cash prizes, laptops and certificates from the government. But it is not an easy task with as many as 900 young scientists competing. The winners of the Inspire program will also get help in their future careers with some winning internships.
इस साल से हमारे मंत्री ने एक और अनाउंसमेंट किया है कि हर नेशनल लेबोरेटरी के साइंटिस्ट वर्ष में 12 घंटा स्कूल या कॉलेज में पढ़ाएगा. इससे करीब 5000 साइंटिस्ट जो हैं 12 घंटा पढ़ाएंगे स्कूल और कॉलेज में. इससे काफ़ी बदलाव आ सकते हैं.
Under this program, the union government has so far approved rewards worth 10 lakh rupees. Almost 2 lakh students have participated in the internship camps and 46,000 scholarships have been given away. 573 students have been chosen to make a career in science. The winner will be awarded on 8th of October. Anu Divan's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now all the news from the sports arena in the Sports Beat. USA Swimming has suspended Olympic champion swimmer Michael Phelps for 6 months from all the competitions following his drunken driving arrest. The 29-year-old will not be able to take part in the 2015 World Championships in Russia as his ban will end on the 6th of April 2015. Phelps had retired after the London Olympics but returned to competition in April this year. Rajya driver Jules Bianchi's condition is critical but stable following his crash in the Japanese Grand Prix. The 25-year-old had undergone surgery after suffering severe head injuries. The French media said Bianchi remains critical and was under artificial respiration. World Motorsport's governing body, the FIA, said that the driver was unconscious after the incident. Indian football team coach Wim Kovermans has stepped down from the post after the team suffered a defeat in the international friendly. Kovermans told the decision at a press conference after India lost to Palestine 2-3. He took charge of the national team in June 2012. His contract with the AIFF was slated to end on the 31st of October. US Open champion Marin Cilic made a shock first-round exit from the Shanghai Masters after losing 7-5, 2-6, 7-6 to fellow Croatian Iva Korlovic. After dropping the first set, Cilic broke his opponent twice in the second to force a decider, but Karlovic clinched the tiebreaker to seal victory. Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer will feature in the tournament for the first time after Wimbledon. And that's all we have for you in Breakfast News today. Thanks for watching and have a great day.